What's going on, people? Welcome to one more watch, please. In this episode, we're going to be talking to someone really special. Yes, we are going to talk to the founder of a British watch micro brand called STROND. STROND makes amazing watches that has history attached to it. And the particular model that Terry is going to talk to us about, the dial of this watch is actually made of the same stone that is used to make the inner ring of the world famous Stonehenge. So without further ado, let's talk to Terry and find out more about STROND. Hey Terry, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Sanket. Nice to touch base with you.
Cool. Well, welcome to the show. It's been really nice to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me on. Look forward to it.
Because one of the missions of this channel is to help micro brands and get the awareness about the micro brands to the watch community. And I think this is only the first of many, hopefully many episodes talking to various micro brands and helping them talk about their products, give them a platform to talk about their products.
Good. Great. Yeah, thank you very much.
Cool. So why don't we start with something? Why don't you tell the viewers something about you? How did you get into watchmaking?
Oh, yeah. How did I get into watchmaking? I've always been interested in timepieces and watches ever since I was a young lad. I grew up in London, and I remember when I was about maybe 10 years old, in the late 70s, the first digital watches had come out. And maybe you're too young, but the first digital watch was the ones with a very red screen and red digits, and that was it. It just told you the time. And I remember when the first one came out, it was amazing. And I got onto a bus and I travelled halfway across London to go and get this watch. And I was about 10 or 11, when I would never allow my children to do that today, but that's what I did. That's what I did. And I always remember that. And I was so pleased that I got this brand new digital watch. It was the first type that ever came out. And from then on, really, Sanket, I was pretty much hooked on timepieces and watches. And I've been interested in them ever since. And then I got my break when I started to design watches, because I'd seen many watches and I knew that there was so many changes you could make and so many ways that you could make a new product. And I got my lucky break when I started working with a company in Hong Kong called Memorigin. You may have heard of them, Memorigin. And they're a Hong Kong company, but they make tourbillons. Relatively nice priced tourbillons. Not the best in the world. But I started to design with these guys and make and create some of the designs. And then one day, it was at the beginning of COVID, I decided, well, you know what, I'm gonna bring out my own brand. I'm gonna design my own watches, and that's pretty much where it started. And I've not looked back since.
Cool. That's a really interesting story behind how you got into watch making. Why don't you tell the viewers something about the brand that you created, the history behind it, and the story behind STROND?
Okay, yeah. By the way, STROND is an old English word, and it means by the waterside. And I wanted to create something that was very British design. And, watchmaking is quite a competitive arena to be in, because there are so many brands, whether they be the major brands or whether they be micro brands. It's quite a hard market to tap into. But I decided to combine my love of vintage watches with vintage aviation. I am a pilot myself, small biplanes, and I decided to combine the two. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to be a little bit different, and I wanted to create history behind the brand. So it was always my desire to incorporate history into the watches. And as you have seen, the vintage aviation range of watches always have a little piece of the wing material or the fuselage material incorporated into the design, into the dial. So we're trying to make these watches and create watches that have real history attached to them. And the latest watch, as you know, is, well, we can go on to that later on, or we can talk about it now. Up to you.
Let's talk about the brand first, and then we'll talk about the specific watch model.
So yeah, that was pretty much my aim, was to start to incorporate history and combine it with watchmaking. Otherwise, you're going to be like everybody else, and it's very difficult to stand out. It's very difficult to set yourself apart because of the competitive nature of watchmaking. And that's pretty much where we started, incorporating some history into the watches themselves.
Cool. That's a really cool story behind the brand. And just for the sake of someone maybe who's watching this video who wants to start their own brand someday, what kind of challenges did you face when you created STROND? I loved design. I come from an engineering background myself, but I didn't really know a great deal about where to go. Who I could use to make watch pieces. So I think the challenges is working along with companies, whether you make them yourself or whether you design them and get another watchmaking company to make them for you. I think the biggest challenge was to find a company that you could work along with that would pretty much give you what you wanted. There were so many that I worked along with in the early days who they would promise that they could do this, and this, but when you got the prototypes, they were not the same as you really wanted, or as the specification document really outlined. So that was a bit of a challenge to find the right company who could see the vision and create nice timepieces. But I think if you look around enough and you do your homework, you'll come up with it. And there are some pretty good companies out there. There are many, many good watchmaking companies. I decided myself I didn't want to get involved in the actual making of the pieces because it's quite an art. So I wanted to design and then have some professional watch companies make the watches for me or assemble them. So yeah, it can be quite a challenge, really. Yeah, I suppose that's the case in sort of any product development where you need someone who shares the same vision in terms of, or they understand what your vision is, and they can convert that into a real product.
Pretty much, yeah. You got to be singing from the same sheet. And as I said to you earlier on, there are so many companies out there that, unfortunately, they promise you a lot in order to get your business, but you get the prototypes made and they're not always, what you really wanted, to be honest with you. So that was the biggest challenge for me. Yeah.
Cool. And the last question sort of around your brand is, what sets your brand apart from the other watch brands?
I think it's pretty much as we was talking about earlier on, that we wanted to incorporate history. So every watch we're ever going to make, there will always be some history behind it, whether it be the Concorde-inspired watch, which has a piece of Concorde wing material incorporated onto the dial, whether it be the new Stonehenge watch, which is using the same stone that was used to make Stonehenge. I think that's going to separate us from the others. It's very difficult to be unique in this business. I think it's really difficult to stand apart from everybody else. So I think you've got to look for something that really makes you stand apart from the general crowd. And I think, what we've got is nice. It's a good idea. It's good to incorporate the history into the timepieces. And I guess that's what makes us stand out. Our strapline is wear the history and watches with soul, because we do believe we've got some soul in our watches.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that point, that you're sort of attaching the history with each of your watches. And at the same time, because a lot of the watch enthusiasts are they associate a story with their timepieces.
Yeah.
So you kind of giving them the timepiece, and you're kind of giving them the story behind the timepiece as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the feedback I've had, when we made the Concorde inspired watch, which was using a piece of wing material from the very first Concorde ever made, which was in 1972, and it still holds the world record for the fastest commercial flight in history, 1,450 miles an hour. The UK to the US in 2 hours and 56 minutes. And I've sold the watches to people that have bought them for their grandfather or their father, and they've written to me saying, my father really loved it. He flew on Concorde himself, or he was the passenger on Concorde. So it's that connection of the history with the brand that people seem to really like.
Definitely. I think we're going to move on to the most exciting part of this conversation today, which is the upcoming watch by STROND. It's called the Henge.
Yeah.
Do you have the watch to show to the viewers on the screen, or are we just going to talk about it?
I can. It's just in the other room. I can get it if you want to.
Yeah, that'll be really helpful.
2 seconds.
Whilst we're waiting for Terry, I'll link the watch in the description if anyone wanted to check out their Kickstarter campaign. So make sure you check the campaign out.
Okay, there we go. So this is the new watch. This is the new piece. You can see it there. So
yeah, I love the dial.
The quick release strap. Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, one of the standout features of the watch is in fact the dial, because the dial is a 100% stone dial. And we've used the same stone used to make the inner circle Stonehenge.
That's really cool.
Yeah, which was a bit of a feat in itself, because the area where the stone came from to make Stonehenge, the Preseli Blue Hills in South Wales, is protected by national heritage. Unfortunately, they allow a certain amount of the stone to be used for sculpture. And we managed to get some pieces, enough to make 300 pieces. So in effect, the dial itself is the same stone used to make the inner circle of Stonehenge. So again, it's getting back to this incorporating history into the watch, and it's very exciting. It's really good.
Cool. And what sort of other features does this watch have? What kind of glass does it come with sapphire glass? What kind of movement are we using here?
Yeah, so on the watch itself, apart from the fact that we are using the dial is made from stone, the same stone used to make Stonehenge, we've got a Seiko NH35A 24 dual movement. I don't know if you can see it from there, but
yeah.
The rotor's been specially designed, so it's in the shape and in the style of a sundial. You'll see it on the website. We have lots of pictures on the website. Sapphire glass, both front and back. Stainless steel case, stainless steel bezel. And some of the nice designs is that on the, I don't know if you can see it from there, but on the bezel, we have the Celtic knot design. And on the crown, on the top of the crown, again, we have the Celtic knot design. Quick release spring bar, clasp, sorry. And the leather strap, it closes on the inside, so it rests up against your wrist. I find that a lot more comfortable than having the metal clasp up against your wrist. So much nicer to have leather on your wrist. It's a very comfortable strap. So some pretty nice features. Again, I think what makes it stand out is the fact that we have the dial made from the same stone as they used to make Stonehenge, pretty much. Yeah.
Cool. So for the viewers who might be interested in buying this watch, how do they buy the watch? When are you gonna launch the this model?
Yeah. So our watchmakers are creating the first 300 pieces. They should be in September. If anyone wants to pre-order the watch, they can go onto our website and they can pre-order it, which means they'll get a much lower serial number, because the serial numbers are all unique. Each one has its own unique serial number. For example, this one here is 001 of 300. So by pre-ordering early, you get a much lower serial number. You can pre-order from the website, but they will be in September.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll link the website in the description below. So if anyone wants to pre-order the watch, make sure you click the link in the description and pre-order it now before it runs out.
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, and it would also be a nice opportunity to see many of the photographs, close-up photographs of the watch, the bezel, the crown, the movement and the strap, so they can see lots of nice smart images as well.
Yeah, and I'll put some images on the screen when I do the editing as well, so everyone can see the clear pictures on the screen.
Good.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that upcoming watch model. I think I personally really like it.
Yeah, and just to let you know, we're working on the next model, which is going to be the sarsen, the STROND sarsen. Now, the sarsen stones were the larger stones that made up the outer ring of Stonehenge. We're using the Preselli bluestone, which made up the inner ring, but the sarsen stones and the much larger stones around the outside are a different colour. They're more of a kind of creamy gold colour stone. So we're just working on sourcing the stone from the same location that they got the stone to make the outer ring of Stonehenge. It wasn't far. It was only about 15 miles away from Stonehenge that they got the stone for the outer ring, whereas the inner ring, that came from South Wales, a long way away. So they had to put it all the way. So we're just in the middle of getting the stone, sourcing the stone. We have to have it machined to 0.6 of a millimetre, which is quite thin. But thankfully we've got a good watchmaker that can make the dial very thin. Yeah. So
is that going to be another sort of limited edition, like limited number of watches?
Yeah. All our watches will be limited, so that's going to be limited to about maybe 450 pieces. It really depends on how much stone we can get, because they don't allow too much to go.
Yeah.
Everybody will be taking it.
Yeah, definitely. And the henge model, once the 300 pieces ran out, you're not going to make any more?
If we can get a little bit more stone, we may do, We may make a few more.
Okay, but there are chances that this 300 pieces, once they run out, then that's it. That model is gone. So make sure, if anyone is interested, be quick and order your watch as soon as you can before the stock runs out.
Well, yes, I would say getting quick. Yeah, it's already up to, at the moment we're already up to around about 78 pieces have gone. And we haven't even been marketing it properly. We won't do that until they come in September, and then we'll really start to do the marketing.
Yeah, and for anyone who's interested in the next upcoming model that Terry just mentioned, make sure you're following STROND on social media, and make sure you're keeping an eye on this YouTube channel as well, because I'm sure whenever time comes, we'll bring Terry along again to showcase the new model.
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. Yeah, they can follow us on social media. They can go onto the website, which is stronduk.com, and they can go to the bottom, scroll to the bottom of the page, and they can subscribe to information and newsletters. But don't worry, we never, ever are going to be passing the information on to any other company. No.
Yeah, and I'll put all the links in the description below as well if you want to check STROND's social media and everything out. Cool. I think the final question I have is, I think you already talked about the future model.
Yeah.
But I think in general, what does the future of the brand look like in the next few years?
Yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. Yeah, we've got some really good ideas for some new models. So we're going to be making two models to do with Stonehenge, which is this one, and then the next one, which is the Sarsen. Then we're going to be moving on to sourcing some material from other historical places. We can't say too much about it at the moment, but one of them may well be a very historic castle. You'd have to subscribe and watch this space.
Watch the space, yeah, definitely keep it exciting.
Yeah, so yeah, lots of things going on. Yeah, we're not gonna. I mean, we do have a couple of other designs for vintage aviation models. We're never going to leave that entirely. That's how we started, but for the moment, we're just going to be concentrating on the stone dials, and then every now and again, maybe we'll dip back into producing another one. We got the option of having some material from another very famous aircraft. Can't say too much about it at the moment, so look out for that. That'll be another historic aircraft, and hopefully we'll be making the whole dial from our next historic aircraft piece. So lots going on, lots of exciting things going on further on down the line.
Yeah, and in terms of the movements, are you still planning to use the Seiko movements, or have you decided, are you planning to use any other movements like Miyota or any of the Swiss movements?
Well, we did use a Miyota for the Concorde watch. You can see it on the website. The Concorde automatic, which has the metal bracelets, that was a Miyota. We are looking, funny you should say that, we have been looking at a Swiss movement as well. So we'll probably be doing that maybe for the next Stonehenge, for the Sarsen. If not, it will come out soon, depending. I mean, it's a bit of a difficult one because we'd love to make the next watch with a Swiss movement, but then that puts the price right up there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's what people want. If people want a piece with the Swiss movement, then that's what we'll do. Yeah. So
yeah, I think Seiko NH35 is quite reliable movement. I quite like it. I've got quite a few watches with that movement. I'm not disappointed.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's a renowned movement. It's a good, reliable, workhorse. It works very well. They're very, very good. I think for the money, they're exceptional. And I remember watching a podcast a couple of years ago, and it was a Swiss watchmaker, and he said that yes, of course, Swiss movements are the best in the world, especially the tourbillons. But he said when you compare Swiss with, say, Japanese Seiko, Miyota, especially Seiko, he said you're going to get, compared to Swiss, with Seiko, you're going to get 80% of the quality for 20% of the money.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you get that? 80% of the quality for 20% of the money. So I think, when you look at it all around, you're getting a good movement for the money. You can go Swiss, maybe go 100%, in quality, but then you'll pay a lot more. So, but we listen to what people are asking for, and if enough people ask us for a Swiss movement, then we'll probably do it. And that's what you get with micro brands. I don't think you get that anywhere else, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I like about micro brand is it's listening to the audience and listening to the buyers.
Yeah.
And that sort of making future products accordingly. They're creating that community around them.
Yeah.
And they're kind of working with them to create something new, which I really admire. And that's why I created this channel, to bring that awareness out there, because I want to support micro brands. I want more people to know that micro brands are not just anyone creating watches. They're not doing it just for money. They're doing it because it's their passion, and they want to show the people that they can make a really nice watch for a really affordable price.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and we do listen. The second Concorde that we made, the GAXDN, the automatic, we made it with a metal bracelet because people asked for it. I mean, I personally don't really like metal bracelets. I prefer wearing leather. Again, it's a preference. It's what people like. And because we had a lot of people ask us for a metal bracelet, we went ahead and made one with a metal bracelet.
Yeah, I generally don't prefer metal bracelets because I have to spend extra money to take it somewhere to adjust my wrist size. But then I taught myself how to do that myself now. So now I don't mind a metal bracelet because I can change the size myself. Now I've got all the tools now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're quite easy to do once you know how, just to remove them.
Yeah.
But again, that was because people spoke and we listened. So
yeah, definitely.
If you want to make a suggestion, we're quite happy to listen.
And how do people make that suggestion? Do they just go on your website and there is like a form that they have to fill in?
Yeah, no, there's an email address. I read all the emails.
Okay.
And that's what you get with the micro brands, because I know that if you sent it off to a big company, it could get lost in translation. It could get lost, somewhere down the line. But when people send emails from the website, I pretty much read all of them myself, and I do reply to all of them.
Yeah.
Maybe when the time comes when I'm getting hundreds a day, and maybe not so much. But at the moment, yep. Yeah. And I think that's what people like. They like the personal touch, that I can reply and answer their questions. I had a man today wanted to know about the DC3 Mark II and the size of the dial and the size of the case. So I was able to give him all the information.
Yeah, that's good.
It's that personal touch.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, thanks for sharing your wonderful story about your background, your brand, and the amazing, the upcoming model Henge.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me on, and I look forward to the next episode.
Yeah, we should definitely bring you along again when you're launching your next one. Maybe we should do that a bit earlier, like prior to launching your Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Have a good evening.
And you.
Okay.
Thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate your love and support. One of the goals of this channel is to help micro brands promote their brand and their products through this channel. So if you know someone who owns a micro brand and want to promote their brand and products, make sure you ask them to reach out to me on my Instagram. I will link my Instagram handle in the description below. And make sure you do the usual, like the video, share the video to all the watch enthusiasts and even the people who will be interested in knowing more about STROND or any other micro brands. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn the bell notification on. And I'll see you in the next one.